Okay, guys. Hold on. All right. It is another Friday, which means it's another Mandalorian review. I'm gonna tweet this out real quick, and also post it to Facebook. I like to do these live reviews of each episode of The Mandalorian, and because I love this show so much. So let's go ahead and tweet this out. Hashtag Mandalorian. Oh shoot! Hold on. Hold on. I did that wrong, actually. I'm stupid. You guys can just skip ahead, actually, if you want, if you're watching after the fact. Okay, there we go. That's way better. Okay, cool. So, Art, what's going on, man? How you doing? Welcome. So for those of you who are new, hey, what's going on? What's going on, Chris? How you doing, man? So I do these live because I don't know. I just like doing these live. I think it's more fun that way. I can kind of just get out my unfiltered thoughts. So season 2, episode 3, or chapter 11, the HEIRESS. I will say this. Let me say this off the top. I loved this episode. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian. And I want to give like a big shout out. Hey, what's going on, AJ? How you doing, man? I want to give a big shout out to Bryce Dallas Howard, who directed this episode, because I think what she was able to do, I did not see coming at all. It did not seem like something that she was capable of doing, but it was incredible. What's going on, Stranger Boy? What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. So yes, season 2, episode 3, The Mandalorian. We get to see Mando, Baby Yoda, and the passenger from last episode as they make their way to this new planet. And this is the planet that he had to send the passenger, get her there so that way she can meet up with her husband. And also, apparently, there are people of his kind that are at this planet. But what I liked about this episode, why I liked it so much, is because I felt like this episode truly felt like the plot was moving forward. The narrative was kind of being constructed as what the real threat of this season is going to be. And we're not going to get into spoiler territory because I have seen, AJ, that you haven't watched it yet, but I do want to talk about some basic things that are not spoiler territory that I think are really good. And number one, I want to say that the construction of the scenes, the set pieces are beautiful. I think that this is one of the most immaculate looking episodes of The Mandalorian. I think there's a lot more here than just at Tatooine and seeing something that we've seen already before. Being able to have a story like this, where not only is it kind of like its own independent arc in a way for some of these characters, but also it, like I said, it really moves the narrative forward. I thought the setup was really good. I felt like last episode was just a filler episode. I didn't really enjoy last week's episode that much. I thought it was kind of just an okay episode. This one really surprised me because not only do they have some amazing reveals in this episode, but this episode really kind of shows that, look, we're not going to just keep going from one adventure to the next, but we're actually going to set some concrete basics here for what is actually going to happen moving forward. And I really enjoyed this episode. I like the fact that they introduced some characters that we've seen from other stories, specifically in the Star Wars universe. I thought that was really nice to see. I love the imminent threat that the boating crew was for Mando and the child, and I actually saw that coming, to be honest with you. And that was kind of heartbreaking at the same time because you're so worried and so fixated on the child being safe, that the child will be able to survive. And you get to see a little bit more of that relationship between the two, right? Like Mando is truly looking after him as if it's his own child. And I think that that's really fun to see, especially in an episode like this, because last week's episode, the child wasn't behaving quite like it should. But this week's episode, it's almost kind of like that little, that little naive mind, that little naive kind of spirit that the child has, and being able to kind of see the child in cute moments, but also moments that kind of make the character mature a bit more. There's one scene in particular that I actually really liked, where and for anybody who hasn't watched it, you guys can click off right now, and after you watch the episode, come back. But because this is kind of digging into some spoiler territory here. But the child is ending up in the care of the passenger and her husband, the frog lady, and you see Mando come back to retrieve him, and he's got this sensible nature to him, where he's kind of looking after these frogs as they're hatching. And I think that that's really cool. I love that, because it's almost like I see that in real children, like a niece, who is so excited about a new baby that is just like wants to protect that baby. And it's like really, really cool. Although like she's a child, she's almost an infant herself, but she's a little bit older. I felt that with that particular scene. I also really loved everything we saw with the Empire. The last remnants of the Empire in this episode was really cool. We got to see some stormtroopers. We got to see an Imperial officer at the time of when the Empire was actually around, and you still get to see that the remnants of the Empire, they're not going away, that they want the Empire to be a lasting thing, and it's just not. So it's almost like they're kind of patrolling themselves, almost in a way they have to almost hide themselves away, like the rebel forces back in the original trilogy. So I like that nice little turn of events of kind of flipping the narrative on its head a bit, where the Empire, the remnants of the Empire, has to, in a way, now start to hide from regular civilization because of, obviously the downfall of the Empire. I loved all of that. I loved the look of the ship that they were on. I thought that was really, really cool, because it reminded me of old Star Wars, original trilogy Star Wars, seeing the stormtroopers and seeing them and having that joke about how they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Like they're terrible. They cannot aim. I think that's really, really fun. And I really loved this episode so much. And another spoiler here, I loved the revelation of Bo-Katan. I thought that was really, really nice. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, what? So I think that this is kind of sprinkling in some foundation of what we could see moving forward, and how character reveals might not surprise us anymore. What if we see Darth Maul down the line? What if we see other characters that we've come to know from other stories in the Star Wars universe? I think that would be very interesting. And seeing Bo-Katan was really kind of the start of this idea in my head that this show is really kind of leaning more towards leaning more towards making sure that there's a concrete story behind the nostalgia, because you can't just throw nostalgia in there. Like Bo-Katan, the whole arc with Bo-Katan and those Mandalorians, including Sasha Banks, who was one of the Mandos. I think that's very interesting, and it actually kind of makes a lot of sense. And seeing kind of that rift between that clan of Mandalorian, that creed of Mandalorian, to the Mandalorian that our Mando knows, because it obviously shows that there are differences of opinion, there's differences of creeds, and it's kind of like, it's almost symbolism for us as humans, right? Like there's different people that practice different things, that have different beliefs, that have different ideologies, and how do we get along with those people? And I thought that was very interesting, that the show was able to dissect a little bit more into that. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing if that will play a big factor moving forward. I could see these Mandalorians, in a way, kind of become a part of that team. And maybe, just maybe, you might see Mando step away from his own credence, his own religion, and maybe try to do something a little bit different. Because I'm going to tell you, I really don't believe that he will keep the mask on forever. I don't see that being a possibility. I mean, it's Pedro Pascal. You got to show that beautiful face, So I really love this episode. This episode was incredible. I was glued to the screen. I really, every fault that I had from last week's episode, every like annoyance that I had from last week's episode, this episode just made up for it 100 times over. It's such a great episode, and I'm looking forward to watching it again tonight with my wife, who has not watched it yet. So really looking forward to that. And the thing is like, the interesting thing about this show is that when you look at on the surface of other TV shows, like they have a certain runtime, right? Whether it be like 50 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. And Mandalorian, it's kind of like all over the place. It's like an episode is either, it could be 50 minutes, it could be 40 minutes, it could be 32 minutes or 35 minutes like this one was. And I think that that is really cool because they're not basically trying to fill a specific runtime, but the runtime is serviceable to what is the actual product on screen. And Jon Favreau is doing a phenomenal job with this show. Even though I didn't like last week's episode, I loved what he did with this week's episode. I thought it was, again, really riveting. I was glued to my screen the entire time, and I'm just so excited for next week's episode. I cannot wait to see where we go next on this journey, and I can't wait to see Ahsoka Tano. Like, I've never really been a big fan of that character, but like I'm actually very excited to see Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to get that necessarily next week, but it's coming. It's coming. And also Giancarlo Esposito, who's amazing. I love him as Moff Gideon. He also made a return in this episode. Phenomenal. The dude is honestly a great villain, and I can't wait to see his character again some point in this season make some type of attack or make some type of resistance to the Mandalorian. So those are my thoughts on this week's episode. Bryce Dallas Howard, good job. I mean, I was floored. I'm so excited to see if she gets other opportunities in the Star Wars universe or if she is going to do anything else moving forward, because I just think that she's very talented. So let me get to some of your guys' comments here, and then we can kind of end this video. You're not stupid. You're awesome and amazing. Good. About to pour me some fine wine. Awesome, Art. That's great, dude. AJ, you need to get on that, man. You need to watch the next 2 episodes. Greed. Great to see them setting up things for the rest of the season, returning to a plot. Yes. Looks like a movie. It's so clean. It did. This episode looked really good. I thought it was shot really well, and I actually loved. It looked a little bit grittier, which I kind of liked. Will the frog characters ever make a return? I don't really care if they do or not, to be honest. It made sense why they made a return in this episode, right? Because of the arc, but I don't care if they ever come back, to be honest with you. I haven't rewatched the Clone Wars since it aired, so I was taken aback. I'm gonna rewatch Clone Wars and then watch Rebels for the first time. I've put off those shows for too long. I have started Rebels. I'm on season 1 still. I really need to probably I think I'm on season 2 actually, but I need to like restart the whole series, I think. And then Clone Wars, I only watched like 6 or 7 episodes, but I did know Bo-Katan because of like just story and stuff like that. Like I do know what happens in the Clone Wars essentially. But it was really nice to see her. I thought that was a really cool reveal. And Katie Sackhoff, she did a great job, honestly, in the role. It's kind of funny. She kind of looks like Bryce Dallas Howard a bit. So it's pretty interesting. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. Thank you guys for popping in here, dropping your comments. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, which most of you are, make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Consider hitting the subscribe button to join the community. We post content quite frequently. It has been a little bit slower in the month of November. I do apologize, but I've been trying to kind of take a little bit, not like a definite break or anything, like where just I don't do content for like a whole month, but I've been trying to do a little bit less content because it does kind of get overwhelming sometimes, and it really does get a little stressful. There will be a new video up tonight to celebrate Friday the 13th, so look forward to that. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be tonight. Yeah, I'll have quite a few cool videos coming out in the next week or two. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everyone who came in and commented. Like I said, I like doing these live because I just think it's kind of fun that way. I don't have to worry about editing it, and I can kind of just give my full and complete thoughts on the show that I really love. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Chris feel better if you're watching this after the fact, my man. I hope you're feeling better, and I hope you can get that taste and smell back. That's really unfortunate. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.